How did humans invent money? Reach into your pocket or open your banking app and look at what you find there. A piece of paper, a number on a screen. Physically, it's almost nothing. A scrap of cotton, a few pixels. And yet you would work an entire month to get more of it. People have crossed oceans for it, lied for it, died for it. A thin piece of paper that, if you really think about it, has no business being worth anything at all. So how did that happen? How did humans take something worthless and convince the entire species to treat it as one of the most valuable things on Earth? The story you were probably told goes like this. Once upon a time, before money, people used barter. You had a chicken, you wanted an axe, so you found the axe guy and you traded. And barter was clumsy, so someone clever invented money to smooth it all out. Clean, simple, logical. It's also, according to a lot of anthropologists, mostly wrong. Here's the problem with barter, and it's a real one. It's called the double coincidence of wants. For a trade to work, you don't just need to have something the other person wants. They also need to have something you want at the exact same time, in the exact right amount. You've got a chicken and you want an axe. But the axe maker doesn't want a chicken. He wants a pair of shoes. So now you have to go find the shoemaker, who it turns out wants grain. So you go find grain who wants, you get it. Barter on its own is a nightmare. It barely functions. But here's the thing. When anthropologists actually went looking for these pure barter societies, the ones where everyone's swapping chickens for axes on the spot, they mostly couldn't find them. That's not really how small human communities operated, because those communities had a much better tool for the double coincidence problem. And they'd had it all along. The promise. Think about how it actually worked in a village where everyone knew everyone. You've got a chicken, your neighbor needs it, but he's got nothing you want today. So you just give him the chicken, and now he owes you one. Not written down, not formal, just understood, remembered. He owes you, and someday when you need something, he'll cover it. Multiply that across a whole community and you don't have barter at all. You have a vast, invisible web of favors and debts, all held in people's heads, everyone remembering who owes whom. That's the real ancestor of money. Not the coin, the IOU. The promise that a debt will be repaid. And you can see it the moment humans start writing things down. Some of the very oldest written records we have, clay tablets from ancient Mesopotamia, thousands of years old, aren't poetry or laws or stories. They're receipts, accounts. This person owes the temple this much grain. Writing may have been invented, in part, to keep track of who owed what. Debt is that old. Debt might be older than money itself. So if the promise came first, where do the actual objects come in? The shells, the coins, the things we think of as money. They come in the moment the web gets too big to remember. As long as you're in a small village, you can keep all the debts in your head. But the second you're dealing with strangers, traders from another region, well, someone you'll never see again, the promise breaks down. You can't trust a stranger's word, and they can't trust yours. There's no shared memory to hold the debt. So you need something else. You need a promise you can hold in your hand, a token that carries the value with it. So you don't have to trust the person at all. You just have to trust the token. And so humans started reaching for objects to play that role. Not random objects, specific ones. Things that were durable, so the value didn't rot. Portable, so you could carry it. Hard to fake. And reliably scarce, so it couldn't be flooded. Cattle were used this way. Grain, salt, so central to survival that the word salary may still carry the memory of it. And all over the world, independently, humans landed on the same trick. Small, hard-to-find seashells. Cowrie shells were used as money across Africa and Asia for thousands of years, by people who had never met, who all arrived at the same idea. A shell is just a shell, but everyone agreed it stood for value. Everyone agreed to honor the promise. Then came metal, and metal was almost perfect for this. Gold and silver didn't rot, didn't break, could be melted and split into any amount, and were rare enough to stay valuable. For a long time, though, you had to weigh the metal out for every transaction and check that it was pure, which was slow and easy to cheat. And the fix for that is the single most important moment in this whole story. Around 2,600 years ago, in a kingdom called Lydia, someone had the idea to take a lump of precious metal and stamp it. The stamp, usually the mark of a king, was a guarantee. It said, This coin contains exactly this much metal at this purity, and I, the authority, vouch for it. You didn't have to weigh it, you didn't have to test it, you just had to trust the stamp. That's the birth of the coin. And notice what actually got invented there. It wasn't the metal. Humans already had metal. What got invented was certified trust, a promise, stamped into a form that strangers could believe, without knowing each other at all. And once you see that, you can see where the whole thing was always heading. Because if money is really just a trusted promise, then the metal was never the point. The metal was just something valuable enough to make the promise believable. And slowly, over centuries, humans realized they could make the promise believable with less and less actual stuff behind it. First, paper notes that stood for gold held in a vault. The paper was lighter, and you could always, in theory, trade it back for the gold. The paper was a promise, about a promise. And then eventually, humans took the last step. They cut the gold away entirely. The money in your pocket right now isn't backed by gold. It isn't backed by anything you could hold. It's called fiat money, and its value rests on one thing, and one thing only: the collective agreement that it has value. It's worth something because everyone around you also believes it's worth something, and acts like it every single day. The paper is a promise with nothing behind it, but the fact that we all, together, keep choosing to honor it. Which brings us to the strange truth at the bottom of this whole thing. Money was never really an object. The shells, the coins, the paper, the numbers on your screen, those were just the containers. What humans actually invented all those thousands of years ago in villages full of remembered favors was a shared belief. An agreement, held by millions of strangers at once, that a certain token can be trusted to stand for value. Money is one of the largest and most successful stories our species has ever told. A fiction so widely believed that it became completely real. It builds cities. It starts wars. It runs your entire life. And it works for exactly one reason: because everyone else believes it too. So the next time you hand over a piece of paper or tap a card and watch it buy something real, a meal, a house, a year of someone's labor, remember what's actually happening. You're not exchanging an object. You're passing along a promise that humans have been keeping hand to hand, stranger to stranger, for thousands of years. The money isn't the thing. The money was always the trust. And somehow, against all odds, we've never stopped honoring it.